Imagine a world where faith is just a vague memory, where religious traditions are reduced to empty gestures, and God is relegated to a dark corner of life, no longer guiding our choices. This scenario is not a fantasy, but a reality that is silently taking hold in our society. Before you start, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell. Cardinal Robert Sarah, known for his firmness and the depth of his reflections, recently highlighted a danger that is creeping into the lives of many believers: practical atheism. It is a silent decline, almost invisible, but for this very reason extremely dangerous. Cardinal Sarah warns us that faith cannot be treated as an accessory, something to be adapted according to circumstances. Faith is not negotiable. Everything stands or falls on our faith in Christ, God or nothing. Practical atheism represents a threat that often goes unnoticed. We are not faced with people who openly declare that they do not believe, but with a situation in which God is progressively pushed to the margins of our lives. Prayers become rare, Sunday Mass becomes an empty habit, an act repeated more out of routine than true devotion. This detachment does not happen suddenly. It is the result of a series of small choices, of compromises made day after day. Thus, without realizing it, we find ourselves living as if God no longer had a central role in our existence. This is practical atheism, not denying God with words, but with deeds, with a life that no longer reflects the faith professed. To better understand practical atheism, we must look at its roots. We live in a society that increasingly values individual autonomy, freedom of choice, often at the expense of community and tradition. Cultural pressures invite us to relegate our religion to the private sphere, making it increasingly difficult to live our faith publicly. Added to this is an internal crisis within the Church itself, where there is often a lack of catechesis that can speak to people's hearts, that can connect doctrine to daily life. The liturgy, which should be the center of our spiritual life, risks becoming a meaningless rite, incapable of inspiring and nourishing faith. This combination of external pressures and internal weaknesses creates fertile ground for practical atheism. People find themselves living in a world that, while still claiming to be believers, has lost sight of the centrality of God. Faith is reduced to a label, an inherited tradition that no longer affects the fundamental choices of life. In this context, faith risks becoming a shadow, a faded memory of something that was once vital and powerful. The consequences of this decline in faith are dramatic, not only for individual believers, but for the entire ecclesial community. The Church, in fact, is not simply an institution, but a community of believers who live and bear witness to faith in Christ. When this faith weakens, the Church also loses its strength and its ability to be a beacon of hope and moral guidance. Churches are emptying, and participation in the sacraments is decreasing. Community activities are losing strength. It is not just a question of numbers, but of an identity crisis. A church that does not live its faith to the full is a church that risks becoming irrelevant, incapable of responding to the challenges of the contemporary world. The loss of faith among believers is also reflected in the evangelizing mission of the Church. If Christians do not live their faith in an authentic and visible way, it becomes difficult for them to bear witness to the gospel in the world. A weak and compromised faith is not able to attract others, to raise questions, or to offer answers. Faced with this situation, Cardinal Sarah invites us to a profound reflection and a renewal of our way of living the faith. It is not enough to declare ourselves Christians. We must live as such in every aspect of our lives. According to the Cardinal, the first thing to do is to rediscover the beauty of the liturgy. The Mass cannot be seen as a simple weekly obligation, but must return to being the heart of our spiritual life, the moment in which we encounter God and receive His grace. The Cardinal also emphasizes the importance of prayer. Prayer is the means by which we keep our faith alive and put ourselves in communion with God. Without prayer, our faith risks becoming only a set of intellectual beliefs, without a real impact on our daily lives. We must learn to pray not only with words, but with the heart, dedicating time to silence, meditation, listening to God. In an increasingly fragmented and divided world, Cardinal Sarah invites us to rediscover the importance of unity among believers. Unity is an extraordinary force capable of resisting external pressures and keeping faith alive even in times of difficulty. When we support one another, when we share our faith with authenticity, we become stronger and more capable of witnessing the gospel in the world. Cardinal Sarah's message is an urgent invitation to rediscover the depth and beauty of our faith. Practical atheism represents a serious threat, but not an inevitable one. It depends on us, on our will to return to living our faith with authenticity and passion. We cannot allow our faith to fade away, to relegate it to a corner of our lives. Faith in Christ is our anchor, our guide, our strength. Without it, everything else loses meaning. This is the heart of Cardinal Sarah's message. Not just believing, but living in such a way that our faith is visible, concrete, operative. We must return to making faith the center of our life, not out of duty, but because without it, who are we really? The future of the Church and our society depends on how we respond to this challenge. If we choose to live our faith with authenticity and courage, we can reverse the trend of practical atheism and strengthen our community. But if we let indifference take over, we risk seeing faith fade, becoming a distant memory. The choice is in our hands. We can make a difference, rediscovering the beauty of faith and putting God at the center of our lives, not only for ourselves, but for the good of all. And you, what do you think of Cardinal Sarah's words? Do you agree that practical atheism is a real threat to our faith? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video to the end. See you next time.